Okay, welcome back everybody. This session is just about some basics of playing the piano. So some of the really basic techniques that if you're just starting out to play, to always make sure you remember when you sit down and play the piano. So one of the first things to remember is your positioning at the piano. So some of you will have a piano stool that enables you to raise it up. Other times it'll just be a static stool. The main thing is that it's nice and steady, it doesn't rock, and that you can always pop a cushion on it if you need to make it a little bit higher. So how do you sit at the piano? Well, the key thing is that when you sit, you get the right distance from the piano so that you're not either trying to stretch to the piano or you're not too close to it. So a good test is to position your stool so that when you're sat upright and you put your arms out, you can just nicely touch the back plate, which is the board just at the back of your keys. Just touch them nicely with your knuckles. So we're at the right distance from our piano on our stool. We've got a nice straight back. The other thing to think about is the height. And remember I said you could just pop a cushion on if you want to be a bit higher. So the right height for the piano is usually where you're sat with your feet nice and flat on the ground. So obviously with young children there might be a little bit of dangling feet, but in an adult, nice and flat on the floor. And when you're sat playing your keys, what you should be looking for is a nice straight angle across from the keys across your elbow. Yeah, so you don't want to be so high that you're having to stretch down like this, or low that you're having to go like that. So in terms of actually playing the notes and playing the keys, it's really important that when you're playing, you don't play with the flats of your fingers and that you don't tense up too much when you're trying to press the keys. Now obviously when you first start out, it can be quite a struggle because actually your fingers need to build up a lot more strength, which they won't have automatically. As strong as they might feel, when you start playing, you'll find that actually it's sometimes quite tricky, particularly for the fingers that are in the middle that don't get used as much. So the first thing we have to remember when we sit down at the piano is just relax our arms. So shake them out a little bit. I like to call them gorilla arms. So hang them down by your sides as though you're kind of a gorilla and really, really relaxed. But then you'll notice, before you move, you'll notice how your fingers fall. And you'll notice if you just lift them up that they're hanging like that in a sort of really relaxed C shape. That's the shape that we want to use when we're playing the notes on the piano. So gorilla arms, and plonk them up onto the piano. And in terms of the tenseness of your wrist, it needs to be really relaxed. So again, I like to think of it a bit like a floppy banana. So you've got your gorilla arms and you've got your floppy banana skins onto the keys. And the point of contact with the keys of the piano needs to be your fingertips. Not the very, very tips of your fingers, not your nails, but just the fingertips. Why do we need to play in that sort of way? Well, if you hold your hands out like this, you'll notice that obviously all your fingers are different lengths. If you look at your thumbs, they're short, your little fingers are shorter. But then, if you hold your hands like that in a C position, can you see that actually you're able to press the keys evenly all together? Okay, so we've learnt about our fingers and our positioning of our fingers, but now I'm going to teach you what we call our fingers. So in the same way as we give notes a name, we also give each of our fingers a number. And this makes it a little bit easier when you're playing, because when you're reading music, you'll find that some of the notes that are written for you to play have a little number on them. And that number is telling you, play it with this finger, or this finger, or this finger, just to make it a bit easier to play it, and also so that it sounds nice and smooth when you're playing. So if you can hold your hands in the air for me, with your palms facing out, your thumbs are number 1, second fingers are number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Yeah, so we work our way out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And can we do it backwards? Do it with me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. So the practice after today's session is for you to really start to strengthen those fingers. So we talked about the need for your fingers to really go to the gym. So what I like to say to my students is start using your fingers and being really conscious of being able to use them for things, such as maybe if you're off school at the moment, you're playing with some Play-Doh. So really give that Play-Doh a good squidge, yeah? Work out your fingers by strengthening your fingertips. So do me a little crab, like that, little pincers, yeah? And then do it with each finger, like that. Yeah? And keep going and go backwards and keep going and press, really press when you're doing it, and you'll feel the strength that you can build up in those fingertips. That strength and that energy is what's going to go into those keys and make them sound fabulous. Okay, so we said that this session was around learning to play the piano properly, so some of the techniques, but we haven't done a lot of playing yet. So another piece of practice I'd like you to do before the next session is to have a go at playing a simple scale with our right hand. And this is also going to help us remember the finger numbers that I taught you earlier. So I'd like you to take your finger number 1, which is your thumb, and I'd like you to lay it on middle C. So do you remember how to find middle C? If you need a quick recap, remember we find our group of 2 black notes in the middle of the piano. The one in the middle of that group of 2 black notes is D, dog in a kennel, and the one below it is C. Lay our thumb of our right hand on middle C, and you lay it with the flat laid down. Yeah, so it's a bit different to our other fingers where we play on our fingertips. When we're playing with our thumb, generally we're playing with the side of our thumb. So lay it down on the keyboard like that, and that's C, finger number 1. Then I'd like you to put finger number 2 on the next note up, finger number 3 on the next note up, finger 4 and finger 5, and so on. So we're playing 5 white notes up and down, yeah? And as you do it, I'd like you to say the numbers of your fingers. So try it with me first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then, if you want an extra challenge, come back down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You might find it starts to get a bit tricky with these fingers, particularly the ones in the middle. As I said, that's the importance of really trying to work those fingers out. Yeah? So do your exercises, your crab claw exercises for me as well before next time. See you soon.